Well, welcome everyone, and thanks for joining us tonight. We appreciate it. As most of you already know, Kendall Hunt has removed the Desmos software from our Discovering Algebra and Discovering Advanced Algebra books, but we have replaced Desmos with ClassPadnet, and we're very excited about this change. We know that you will be excited too after you get to see all the things that it can do tonight. Before we get started, let's go over how to ask questions. Those of you who were on while we were trying to figure it out know. You can send a chat message. There should be a little chat button at the end of your, or at the bottom of your screen. You can click on the chat button. And when you do, if you type a question, we ask that you share the questions with the panelists and the attendees so that everybody can see the questions you're asking so we don't get the same questions repeated over and over again. So we will try to answer some questions as we go along. Some might wait until the end. Just depends on, Karen, can you see the questions as well?
I can, yes, I can see
Okay,
them.
perfect.
And,
so,
and Marty, maybe introduce yourself.
Thank you. Forgot about that. I am Marty Frank, and I am the math specialist at Kendall Hunt. So I will, I represent the Kendall Hunt side of this webinar. And let me hand it over to Dr. Karen Greenhouse, who is Casio's Ed Tech expert.
And I also formerly worked for Key Curriculum. So I worked with the Discovering books for years and years and years and years and years. So I kind of feel like I know them both. Are you going to show, Marty, before I begin, are we doing the list of links at the end, or are we going to talk about it now?
We can do it either way.
Okay, so so basically let me kind of show you tell you how we're going to do this. I'm going to show you ClassPad.net just in general, because I think that most of you will want to hopefully incorporate it into your classroom teaching. It's an amazing tool where you can pretty much do anything, calculating, graphing, geometry, statistics, all in one place. Create assessments, have kids do their homework on it. So we're going to start looking at ClassPadNet first, and then we're going to show you how we've embedded it in the books at the end. So the things I'm showing you at the beginning, it may seem very fast because I'm trying to just highlight some cool things that each little section does. So I'm clearly not going to be demonstrating everything, but we are going to provide, and Marty has it showing now, hopefully you all can see it. I have a document I made that has links to all the support that we have. So we have free accounts, everything is free that I'm going to be talking about for students, for teachers, all the time, forever. It's not going to go away. And we have some video tutorials that we've been making. So there's links to our YouTube how-to videos. So everything I'm showing you tonight, there is a video already on it where you can go and find out more if you have questions. We have Twitter, and we constantly are updating with new videos. So you'll see on there when we've put in a new video or how to, and you can write us messages. So all of that's coming to you at the end. So if I'm doing something and you're like, wait, how'd you do that again? There is a video. I want to keep moving, so this is just more of like an overview. So there's lots of support, and you can always email me. I have no problem being emailed, and I'm happy to help you that way. So ask questions as you go along if you want to see something. I've decided to cut back. I was getting a little excited, so the beginning was a little longer than it should be, so I've cut back, but at the end of the webinar, I would be happy to stay on if anyone wants to ask specific questions, and I can maybe show you something, but that's just at the end. So let me get started.
Don't worry, we will email you this page with the links tomorrow, so you will have this emailed to you, so no need to hurry up and write it all down.
Right. Exactly. So I'm going to, I think, wrest control from you. Is that how we're doing this?
Yes.
All right. So we're going to hopefully see my screen now. All right. So this is ClassPad.net. This is the landing page. It is a free web-based math software. So it's designed, it can be on your iPads, your Chromebooks, your computer. This is on my PC, your phones, any mobile device. So it's free. And here's the landing page, just ClassPad.net. You don't have to have an account to start using it. You can just start doing things right away. And it does basically everything. So we like to call it the digital scratch paper, the idea behind it. And those of us who started creating it are all math teachers. And we wanted something where if we just wanted to start doing something, we could just start right away. We didn't need to get a special tool. So all you have to do is click Start Creating, and you come to what we call a paper. So that's what we call this, is scratch paper. And just like paper, it's a blank paper. What do you want to do? That's your decision. And all you have to do is click. So when you click, and it doesn't matter where you click, you get these icons that come up. And these icons are the things you can do. And you can start calculating, you can start graphing, you can do some geometry, you can do some statistics, or you can write text. So the idea is you can do everything in one place. You don't have to go to this tool to do statistics and another tool to do geometry. It's all here. So I'm going to start just by showing you. And right now, oh, I am logged in. I'm logged in. I have an account. The only reason you'd maybe want to make an account is if you want to save what you do. But if you're just in class with students and you have them open up ClassPad.net, they can do a lot of work just exploring without ever having an account. But if you want them to save things, they'd create an account. An account's free. It's easy to do over here where it says log out. There, you log in, you create an account. And again, there's a video tutorial on that. So saving, if you want to save anything, create an account. But if not, just play along. So I'm going to start with a text sticky. We call all of the things that happen stickies. And the reason is because they can be moved wherever you want. This is your paper. You can design it how you want. So I'm going to put it over here. And a text sticky does exactly that. It types text. So you could put directions, say you want to create a test. So you can put your directions to the test. You could add problems in. You could have students create a text and write a reflection about what they discovered, and it can all be on this one page. So that's what a text sticky is for. And so let's say you wanted to give them a direction. So I'm going to say evaluate this expression for x equals 9. Whoops. Equals 9. And so in the text sticky, you can have math type. So it's right, everything's right there. And so notice when you hit math, you come up with your typical template that you may have seen on other softwares. So all the numbers, there's different math templates. So all these things you can now just add right away into your text sticky. So I'm going to, let's do an expression. So let's say these are my directions that I want the students to do. So how would they do that? Well, they might get their calculator out. So I don't have to go to another tool. I can just click somewhere else on my screen and click this icon right here. That is my calculate icon, and I can start calculating. So I can start doing my work right away, same place. Don't have to go anywhere separate. So let's actually evaluate this. So I'm going to do the same thing, but now I'm going to replace the X with a 9. I'm using right now my mouse and the keyboard down here. So this is designed for a touch screen. So if you have iPads or Chromebooks, they can use their fingers. It's designed to support touch screen as well. So that's all I'm doing right here. This was kind of a silly. And then I hit execute. So just like you would expect any calculated work, it's going to evaluate it. The calculate can do anything you would expect a calculator to do, right? I can do shortcuts. So like the square root of, let's pick a number. So square root of 41. ClassPad's built on a CAS system, so computer algebra system. So it does natural display. I can change it very easily to its decimal form, but natural display is really nice, especially when you're working with square roots. It'll actually do the real answer there. It will do things like factor, which I know a lot of you are saying, I don't want my students to be able to factor things. But this is part of the CAS system, so I just want to make sure that I am showing you this. And I had one, but I think I'm not making, oh, +4, there we go. So it's factoring because of the CAS system. The CAS system is one of those features that eventually is going to get turned off because most, especially K through 12 teachers, don't want students to be able to factor or solve automatically using the system. So this is going to become what we call a for-fee app add-on if you need it, if you want it. but you don't have to have it, and everything else on the whole system is free. But right now it's open so that you can explore it. So that's there. Another thing that I love is you can define functions. So let's say I have a function and I want it defined to be something very specific. So f of x, this right here, colon equals, is defining it. So we're going to make a function, and so by doing this, I've told the calculator, every time you see f of x, I want you to use this function. So now I can use the calculator to help me evaluate that function at specific values, or I can help students who are just learning what does that mean when you ask me to evaluate a function. What am I actually doing? You could actually use words. Whoops. And it helps them understand that this value that I'm putting in here is replacing the variable. And so this is a nice visual. So there's lots of things that you can do with that in the Calculate. So as with everything, this is a sticky, and I can move it around the screen out of my way if I don't want to use it. So I'm going to move it over here, just out of my way for right now, and we're going to go into graphing. So that's the third icon, or I'm sorry, the second one, third in this list that we're doing. So graphing is what you'd expect. So it's a graph, and you can make these screens larger and expand them as much as you want. You can zoom in, you can change the axes. So there's a lot of options of what you can do with the graph. And down here are how you enter in your functions, your graphs, lots of different ways. So that you can enter in equations, you can enter in tables of values, you can put pictures in, you can plot points. So all these things can happen. So let's show you how everything is kind of connected, because everything's on this one page. So remember, we defined this function down here, f of x, to be x squared minus 3x plus 2. So now if I want to graph that function, all I have to do is say y equals that function I've already defined. Whoops, not with a 0. There we go. And it's going to graph it. So everything is connected, and that's kind of the beauty of this, is things kind of talk to each other throughout. You don't have to go to a separate page. You can see everything in one place. So now once you've graphed a function, if you click on it, you see the key points. And if you click on a point, you actually see those values. And you can move the points around. And here's this natural display again happening. It's going to give you answers in their standard form. You can change it to decimal if you want, but I actually like to see them, especially it's really nice when you have a fraction in the as the intercepts. You can see the symmetry of it there when they're in their standard form, not decimal. So I can also, if I click on the function and see a table of values, and again, if you notice all these little kind of strings, it means these are all connected. So all of these go together. So think multiple representations. I've got my equation, I've got my table, I've got my graph, and I can see that they're all connected to each other. I can add values to this table very easily if I just click on the graph and click a point, and sorry, it's being a little slow. Convert it to the table. It adds that in its decimal form to my table. I can move that point and collect more data. So you can use ClassPadnet as a data collector, so you don't have to have the table. You can create it yourself. So let's add another function to this. So the nice thing about this is you can add lots of functions, graphs on top of each other. So let's create one that is a little simpler. So 3x plus 1. And so it's going to show that graph on top of this. Let's actually change both graphs to be inequalities just to show you what that looks like. So it's easy to change something you've already entered. You just go back up into it and highlight what you want to change. So I'm going to change these. Whoops. I want to change that to be, let's do that. So I wanted to show you this because you can see that if it is less than, you're going to see a dotted line automatically. If it's got greater than or equal to, or less than or equal, you see a solid line. And then when you click on the key points of something that is less than, those points show up as open circles, not closed circles. So it's really showing you that those values are not equal. This point right here, notice it's showing you that it's on both of those. So it satisfies both equations. So you could really talk about systems. Notice my graph is a intersection right now. No, I'm sorry, it's a union right now. I can go up and actually change the view to be an intersection of those two graphs, so I can actually kind of work on just the points that satisfy both equations. So it's really easy to do things like that. And here's the one thing I love probably more than anything is I've got two graphs here. I could have three, I could have four. Each graph, notice, is in a different color. And I can get a tab down here for each graph. And if I decide, well, I'd like to just look at this blue graph all by itself, you grab the tab of whichever graph you want and you separate. And now I have two separate graphs that I can look at individually. And so I want to show you again, notice how everything that is connected to each graph has its little spider web thing that goes with it, showing you those things that are connected. And if you decide I want to see them back again together, you just drag and drop and they're now back together. So that is one of my favorite features about the graph. The last thing I want to show you about graph, there's lots more that we can do, but I'm trying to honor your time here, is, and I'm just going to scroll down. You have unlimited scroll. So again, it's my paper. I'm just going to make a new graph. I just want to show you that you can also add pictures. So there's a lot of cool things you can do with graph fitting. You can make sliders, those types of things. But let me just show you something really quick to show you the last two things with graphing. So if I just want to add a picture, so I'm going to click on a picture and it gets centered into my graph. I can change its size by changing any of these numbers here. We're going to leave it as it is right now. But the last thing I want to show you, so we've gone through what this equation is. This is adding a picture. This is plotting points. So if I were curve fitting, I'd want to click this and I'm going to plot some points. So again, notice everything's connected. I'm going to change the color so it stands out a little bit better on my graph. And I'm just going to plot some points. And here's the neat thing. It doesn't matter what points I plot because I'm going to be able to move them. So I'm just making up some points here that hopefully are on my graph because I'm. All right, so I've plotted 4 points. You can kind of see them here. So now I want to curve fit. So let's say we're going to try and plot this line right here, okay? I can move my points. Notice it moves in the table and it moves on the screen, and I now have some points that I can now use to try to come up with an equation of the line of fit for this particular line in my bridge, and I would then maybe pull up my graph and kind of try to come up with the function. I could pull up my calculate screen and calculate the slope so that I could use it in my equation. So all of this is connected and I can do it all on one page. That's the idea here. I'm going to move on. So if you want to see more of this, we can do this later, but I'm going to move on to make sure I show you what the statistics can do and what the geometry can do, just so you get a sense of all the things that are on ClassPad. So we're going to scroll down a bit more and let's click our next icon. So geometry is next, and I know this is Algebra and Algebra 2, but we are adding ClassPadnet to the Discovering Geometry book this year, so it will be in next year's ebooks. So geometry, you're actually going to see some geometry today in the Kendall Hunt book because we use a lot of geometry in the Algebra and Algebra 2 books. So geometry is, if you've ever worked with Sketchpad or GeoGebra, it's what you'd expect a geometry software to be. It has all the tools, right? It has the point tool, it's got your straight edge tools, your compass, your circle tools, lots of different polygon tools. We can do ellipses and hyperbolas. And you know, you can change colors and size, things like that. But it has some things that no one else has. So this is my favorite thing, and I'm going to turn off auto labeling. The idea behind, I'm a geometry teacher, and so it's nice not to have to teach the students how to use a tool. I want them to just start exploring some geometry. And that's what this can do. This is a drawing tool. And if I just tell my students, everybody draw what you think a circle is, and they can literally go to their page and draw something they think is a circle, and boom, they have a circle. And then now we can start exploring it. We can just start moving. I didn't have to spend any time teaching them how to use the tool, turn it on. I just said, draw something. So the same thing here. Let's say I wanted everyone to draw a four-sided shape. So everybody draw me a four-sided shape. Let's talk about quadrilaterals. So everyone draws their own four-sided shape, whatever it might look like. They're all going to look different, right? So everyone's got a different shape. I can do your typical things you would expect in a geometry tool. I can measure angles and sides and area and coordinates. I can construct bisectors, midpoints. So all of that is what you'd expect. But there's something different here. So we're going to actually measure 2 angles in my quadrilateral. So say I have all my students measuring their 2 angles. And obviously, if they've all drawn different quadrilaterals, they're going to have 2 different angles, right? And I can say, everybody move your quadrilateral around, watch how it changes. Now I want everyone to click your quadrilateral and go to adjustment. And so this is something that I love, because now everyone can hit this button and hit regular polygon, and boom, we all have a square. Now we all have different squares, right? We might have small and large, but we all have a square. What is something we all have noticed? Well, we all have 90-degree angles now, and maybe we measure some sides and compare. So the beauty of this is it's got some really great features that allow you to start just discovering right away without having to be bogged down in learning tools. So that's a very, very quick glimpse at geometry. So let's kind of end this overview with the statistics tool. So again, so notice my page is getting longer and longer. I have lots of stuff. I have everything I need on the one page. So I'm going to go into statistics. That's the one that looks like a table. And as you would expect, it's statistics. So it's columns, and you can add columns, you can add rows, you can do formulas, you can put column headings, all of the things you would expect to do with a spreadsheet. And notice when I click on the columns, I get a statistics menu. And this is the current menu. And if you click over here, there's some more things that you can do. We're going to be adding to this as we go along. ClassPadNet's very new, so we're continually adding to it. But I'm going to enter some data. So you can enter data just by typing it. So I know in the Discovering books, there's a lot of times when you're out collecting data and you have students entering data in tables. So that's where you would be using the statistics. So I'm just going to enter some numbers here, just so we can show you quickly what statistics can do. All right, so I have entered into 2 columns. I can do 2-column variable. So I'm going to just click my column B right now. So notice the column B is selected. Here's my choices. And this is 1 variable, statistics, as you would expect. So if I click that, it's going to give me your mean, your mode, all the things you'd expect, your quartiles, right? So that's done. You can also do it for 2 variable. I'm going to move it out of the way. Again, stickies. But now let's actually show you the neat thing that you can put all of these on one graph. So students are collecting data. We want to figure out what's the best representation for that data, what kind of plot's going to give us the most information. You can actually see all the plots at once. So let's say we want to do a scatter plot. And we're going to move that up here. There's my scatter plot. Ooh, that is an ugly color. So here it's telling me what I made a scatter plot out of. So this is a scatter plot sticky, and I'm going to change the color because I think yellow is a terrible color. Let's make it purple. There we go. All right, so there's my scatter plot. So let's go back to those same 2, column A, column B, and let's do a couple more plots. Let's do a box and whisker plot. Let's do a histogram. Let's do maybe a cubic regression. That's not a great fit. Maybe a quartic regression. I'm just showing you that it can do lots of things all at once on the same graph. And notice that this is now a graph menu. So statistics and graphs are very connected to each other. I could add in equations now if I wanted to. I could add in a picture, plot some points. If I click on any of these statistical graphs, I see, so this is the box plot, I see the 5 important measures here, my quartile, my mean, all those things right there. And if I click on the points in the scatter plot, I see the specific points from the table. If I click on the histogram bars, I see the specific number where it came from. And if I click on the graph, again, I see the equation of that graph. So this is a quick kind of demo of all the things that ClassPad.net can do. Obviously, it's not everything, but just a quick demo. But again, notice that each one of these got their own tab. So if I decided that the boxed one was the best representation, I could pull it out and look at it separately. And when I pull it out, everything that's attached to it comes with it. So it's telling me where the box and whisker came from, and it's showing me the table on its own all by itself. So quick overview of ClassPad.net. Again, if you want to save things that you do, you can create an account by going over here and logging in and creating an account. Once you create an account, this little cloud appears, and that means everything you're doing is automatically saving all the time, so you never have to think about, oh, did I save it? It's automatically saving, and it saves over here to your papers. So I'm just going to show you real quick my papers, and then we're going to get into the Kendall Hunt books. So you have an account that shows all your papers, so you can see I've been a little busy. That's all my papers. And if you want to click on one, you can sort them, you can color them, however you want to do those types of things. You can share. So if you're thinking of using this with students, which I'd highly recommend it, let's say they want to do their homework or you're doing something you want them to turn in, you send them an assessment. It's really easy to do. Once you have a paper, so this is my paper, you come over here and you share it, and you can get a special URL, and you can put it on your website, you can send it to an email, however you want, and they get to open it themselves, they can work on it, save it, and send you back their version of it. So very easy to do that, and there is a video on how to do that that we'll send you the link to. So what I want to do now is we've taken this ClassPad.net and we've put it into the Kendall Hunt books. So I'm going to show you how it looks in the book. So these are ready to use activities for the most part that you can interact with, and things are already done. So for those of you who have your books, you go into your Flourish account and you can go in the ebook or the teacher ebook. They're in both. And the first one I'm going to show you is, so this is from the Discovering Advanced Algebra, section 1.7. ClassPad.net is basically in the book in 3 different ways. It might be a simulation where you're going to interact with it. It has movable parts. You can add things to it. It's an investigation, or it's a homework page where they could write down their homework, those types of things. So this one that I'm showing you is a simulation. So this is, if you look at this activity, this is a lesson 1.7, and it starts off with some examples. And as you see, there's this icon right here. So whenever you see this icon in the book, it means there is some type of ClassPad.net activity that you can click on. So when you click on it, so because this is not in the investigation, it means it's an example or simulation. It brings up that page that's embedded in the book. This is the master copy in the book. But now, because you're in your own book or the students are in their book, they can interact with this. So if I'm in my book and I'm interacting with this, so this is an example, it's a line of fit, right? So it's giving you the directions how to make a line of fit. So then the simulation is, go ahead and move this line and make it fit the blue data and see if you can come up with an equation for it. And then use those 2 points again to make a line of fit for the red, and you can use your calculate. So this is basically, now it's been acting a little slow because we're over the, all right, come on. It's not happy with the, I don't know. It's supposed to be moving the black line. I don't know what's, I think, oh, there we go. It was acting slow before, but they make the line of fit. So let's say they pick some points that they think make it fit. So then they could use their calculate. So this is just a simulation, right? So they can calculate, they can pull up the calculate and find the slope from these 2 points and then write their equation of the line. I'm not going to do all that, but that's what this is about. So let's say a student has done that in the class with you. This is in their ebook. They've done their work. Up here, if they save it, it's saving to their book. So there's a copyright thing where the activity is being saved in the ebook. And if they were to close out, so I'm closing out of the activity, but now I'm back in it, I'm going to pull it up, you're going to see that what I did is saved. So every student might have done something different and it's saved in their book. The work that they did is then saved in the book as they did it. Now, if they messed up and they don't like what they did, they can easily reset the activity to its original version and get rid of the work that they did. So that's how it kind of works in the book. So it's in the book, each student has their own book, each teacher has their own book, and you can change things in your book and it saves in your book as what you did. So that is a nice feature. You can reset back to the original as you need. So the next activity is from the Algebra book. So I wanted to show you a different way. So the first one was a simulation, kind of with the examples that come up. So there's several of those. And then there's most, I'm not going to say all, but most of the investigations have a ClassPad.net activity if it was appropriate. So in the investigations, you'll know that those of you who are familiar with using the books, that you have lots of steps, right? So this has lots of steps, and this one has really quite a few. And this one is one of those where you're using a motion sensor, right? So some people don't have those motion sensors, so how are we going to do this activity? So some of the activities we've designed so that you don't necessarily have to have the motion sensor. We use ready-to-use data. So if you don't have those tools, you can still do the investigation. So you'll know that an investigation has ClassPad.net if you see this icon again. So when you click on it, you're going to see all the steps of the investigation in the activity itself. So you don't have to go back to the book. It's all right here in the activity. So you'll see the procedure notes. We've tried to make it kind of color coordinated. So always procedure notes are in green, directions are in blue, and then places for students to write their answers are in yellow. So that's sort of what you're going to see as you're moving through the book. So this particular activity actually has a lot of different things that you can do. This first thing says sketch a graph. Well, you can do that with ClassPad. You can click on it and use your tool. I think they're supposed to be sketching the graph of two different walkers, right? So I'm just going to grab my segment tool, and here's the fast walker. He is walking closer to me, and then here's the slow walker. So now I've graphed what I think the investigation is going to look like, and here's the point I'm trying to look for. So they've done that first step right there, and now we can scroll down and get to the next step. So you'll notice this is a motion sensor, and it says up here, if you don't have the motion sensor, you can skip to step 4 because we've got sample data already for you to use. So lots of options there. And so this is, as you know, a where you're going to plot the two different walks, and so it's using a statistics table, and I'm going to do a scatter plot for the first walker. So there's my first walker using the sample data, and then I'm going to make a scatter plot for my second walker. Whoops. There we go. And we're going to do another scatter plot. And so now I have both my walkers there, and I'm ready to start doing the investigation. So a lot of the investigations, we've provided sample data for you if you don't have the tools to do it, and you can just still do the investigation. And all the steps are within the one paper, so you don't have to go back and forth between the book. Everything can be done there. And then students can save their work in their book so that it's always there for them to look at. So that's an example of sample data. The last one I'm going to show you from the Discovering Advanced Algebra book is one, also an investigation, but it's one where there's a simulation to be used. So this is an investigation, and notice it's one that has a video. So students watch the video first, and this is talking about how to make different size boxes. So the video, I don't know if you guys have seen the video, but the video is, it shows them making lots of different boxes. It's probably not showing very well. So that's the idea behind the investigation, is you're going to use paper and cut out lots of different boxes by cutting out congruent squares on each corner and folding, right? So that's what their investigation is. Here's all the steps of the investigation that they're supposed to do. But if you go into the ClassPad.net activity, again, all the steps of the investigation are on that paper. You don't have to go back to the book. So here's watch the video first, and here's all the things you're supposed to be doing. Here's the procedure if you're going to do it with paper cutting out. But if you don't have the paper, we have a simulation right here for you, where all they have to do is move the red point and collect the data. So right now, what's my data? My X value is 2, so I can enter the table data, and I can find the volume. How do I find the volume? I just multiply 2 times 16 times, and I have my calculate here, so 2 times 16 times, oops, not answer. I probably shouldn't be wasting time doing this, but there we go, 2 All right. When all else fails, start over. There we go. 2 times 16 times 12. So they can do everything in the one place. So there's my answer. So I'm going to put my 384 up here. And then now I can move this red point and collect some new data. And I believe the directions where it had to be integer numbers. So now I could put 3 and recalculate and collect my data right there, all in the one place. I don't have to cut out if I don't need it, and then we can start answering the questions down here. What's the width of the height? So they have places to put their answers, they have places to do their work, all on the one page, and then they can save it. So this is how it looks in the Kendall Hunt books right now. And if you want to use it as a tool separate from the books, then that's where you would create the account and the things that I was showing you at the beginning. So that's my brief overview, though it was a lot longer than I intended. So if there's any questions or people want to stay longer, I'm happy to answer them. But that's basically what ClassPadnet is and how it's looking in the book. So if we have any questions, that would be fantastic. I see somebody. I see Ish again. Any questions?
I do see Ish. I didn't see any questions come up. No one typed in any questions.
I'd be happy to show more on things that ClassPad.net can do, but I don't want to, I know it's late and you guys are probably all working, so you probably have lesson plans and things to do, but I'd be happy to show you. But the links, Marty, maybe you should wrest control from me again. Or actually, no, I know what I wanted to show you. I wanted to show you that the links you're going to get tomorrow in the email, one of them is a link to our website, our ClassPad.net YouTube, and we have lots of videos, and we've kind of organized them by content. So there's statistics, so all of that would be things, how to use the statistics menu. This is kind of general things, so how do I set up an account, how do I share papers, those types of things. Then there's graphing, geometry, calculating. So if you are interested in that, that's one of the links, is links to our YouTube videos. We have a lot, and we add at least 1 or 2 every week. So that's something to be looking for.
He's making a tooth cake for a dentist. So he's making
somebody's noise is on.
Chocolate chip.
We can hear somebody. I guess not everybody.
Somebody with mint chocolate chip.
Sounds
and then
yummy.
we also have a Twitter account. We'd love for you to follow. What we're really trying to get people to do is to use ClassPad.net with their students and show us some of the things that your students are creating. We really are trying to build out our lesson library. So we're going to have a place where eventually, look, we have them now. We have public papers where you can share. So if you notice when I'm going back to sharing here, one of the options is to make it a public share, and that means anyone who's in ClassPad.net can see your paper. So it's going to be searchable. So you could type in the word slope, and all the activities that are publicly shared that have to do with slope will show up, and you can use them and share with them. So we're really trying to start building that out. So we'd love for things from students and things from you as well.
We would love to see anything shared from Kendall Hunt as well.
Yeah, exactly.
All right.
Any questions?
Let me get back my screen.
Okay.
Oh, wait. Someone posted, I like the simulation with the box factory. Thank you, Tom. I do too. That might be my next one I'm going to do.
It is a cool one. Yeah. There's quite a few that are simulations, and there's some that are that we will be adding as we get. ClassPad.net is still really new. Like, we launched version 1 in August. So we're adding to it all the time. And as we get more functionality, I'll be going back in and updating some of the Kendall Hunt things to have more interactions once we get the functionality. So some of them will get even better than they are now.
Great. All right. We will email out the ClassPad.net links. Also know that if you have any questions, feel free to contact Karen or myself. And if you have any questions about the use of the ClassPad.net within the Kindle Hunt books, we're happy to answer those as well. If you do not have access to Flourish, contact me and I will be happy to get you set up with that for those of you who are not already Kindle Hunt users. So we appreciate your time tonight, and yes, thank you so much, and y'all have a good evening.
Good night.
Good night.
All right, Marty.
Hang on, let me end the meeting.